So over the past few days, Twitter has been exploding in discussion over a controversial take the political Twitch streamer Hasan had on his live stream. The clip of his take was shown by Scuba Ryan, who says, Hasan says that streaming is harder than working a real job.
Yes, a real job can be gruesome, a real job can make you very tired, but a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you, you know what I mean? In the same way that 9 hours of streaming absolutely will. So
O'Marley Lai responds by saying, a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you? Ryan responds, man, it pushes people to the edge. I don't know what he's talking about. Bones responds by saying, I wonder why he's streaming instead of working a 9 to 5 then. Ryan responds, cooked him. IQ Kev says, I can't believe people watch this guy still. Ryan responds, he just sitting there yapping in front of a screen. How is this hard work? Mahler quote tweets the clip and says, a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you. Is such a self-report. No matter how difficult YouTube gets to maintain as a job, be it streaming or video editing, I'll never forget my time in the hellscape that was the toy store job I had, and how it harvested souls by design. Ryan Beard says, I don't know how you can call yourself a leftist and have a take this tone deaf towards the working class. I agree that being a content creator can be mentally exhausting, but BFFR bro. Turkey Tom says, this has to be ironic bro. Dark Viper AU says, I would like to remind people that Hasan Piker fundamentally lacks empathy and has led an extremely pampered life, resulting in a career of clips like this one. Too much to hope he is calling the exploitation and theft that built his life soul-sucking? I suspect so. ASC responds to the clip with this picture of a guy bawling his eyes out and the caption, content creators when they realize they have to play more video games and react to YouTube videos tomorrow. Juju says, imagine being so out of touch with reality that you think talking at your computer is harder than a real job. SWB responds by saying, making millions for sitting at your computer is harder than 9 hours of real labor for $15 an hour? Do Not Disturber says, a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you. I don't even know which day it is anymore. Hasan himself then responds to Juju by saying, these people farm the stupid people on Twitter for $3 in Twitter ad rev with clips like this. Of fucking course I don't think Twitch streaming is harder than a real job, you dumb fuck. It is, however, better than whatever the fuck y'all are trying to do on this increasingly more dogshit website. Not a single original thought in this loser's mind. Just a bot, posting to other bots, barely getting back the $8 he paid for the Twitter blue checkmark, until the website inevitably crashes and burns, showing a tweet that Juju made where they say, he gave me the ick, you are 30 years old, which is the same as another tweet that got a lot more views from Matt, who said, he gave me the ick, you are 33 years old. Philip Bunn responds to Hasan by saying, you said, quote, a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you. You know what I mean? Which is a weird thing for a socialist to say given what, socialists have to say about wage labor. Maybe if you got off your computer and read a book, or talked to a human, you'd know things. Pear responds to Hasan by saying, just say you misspoke instead of doubling down on context that clears nothing up, lol. Tyler says, okay, sure, except that was pretty much exactly what you said and now you were realizing how privileged you sounded. Just take the L and say, nah, to be honest, I was just moping at the time. Came to my senses though. Everyone would gain more respect for you owning up to it. Nicholas Diorio responds to Hasan by saying, motherfucker crying about dudes making passive income shitting on him while he lives in the communist mansion Festo and drives a Porsche Taycan Turbo S. Socialism. Drama Alert also tweets out the same clip and says, no way Hasan thinks streaming is harder than a real job. Piss responds with a picture of a man working a manual labor job and says, thank God I'm not streaming all day. Action Man says, might be his worst take yet. A real job is just soul crushing and miserable. I've worked plenty that are way worse. Bulwark 15 responds to all of this by saying, laughing at the idea of a mentally unwell millionaire torturing himself doing something he clearly hates because he psyoped himself into thinking that he's making a meaningful difference by doing e-daycare for 13-year-olds. Cavos says, what a complete moron. As if sitting in a chair and reacting to other people's content is harder than a real job. Get a fucking grip. You are extremely privileged. Everything Out of Context shares this image and says, retail workers taking on the pain that Hasan has to endure by watching hours of YouTube in order to earn thousands of dollars. Willie Mac Show says, this guy makes up shit for 9 hours a day and his commute to work is walking into his 5th bedroom in his $3 million mansion, but somehow a real job is hard, laughing my fucking ass off. Mark responds, I don't know why you're criticizing him when you would never debate him, which is funny considering that Willie did debate Hasan a couple months back, and Chris Gusto knew this, which is why he responded by saying, "My dude, you have no idea what you were talking about, lol." And then Mark responds, "You were just jealous because he's more successful than you." Soch Demlad responds to Willie by saying, "I do kinda understand him. It must be hard being a dishonest hack for 9 hours straight. I could never pretend to be a socialist for as many years as he has. I would eventually break character." Troy Steele responds to Willie by saying, "What's it like being this obsessed with him?" And then Hasan responds to Willie by saying, "It is wild how this completely out of context clip made its way to Twitter so fast. I was talking about how much a 9-hour stream eats away at my social battery, and how I can't socialize after, comparing it to my sales job before. I recognize how fortunate I am every day." He then attaches this clip showing the full context.
No. Social battery wise, unless you're in fucking retail, it's very different. You're out of touch. I'm gonna die, dude. There's motherfuckers who are accountants in here and they're misunderstanding what I'm saying. A real job does not expend your social battery in the same fucking way as someone who did a sales job, a real job. Okay. I'm telling you, as someone who did both, like 9 hours of constant performance and people pleasing taps you out from social scenarios. After 9 hours of that, I could probably do fucking physical labor. It would not bother me, but I can't fucking do more social shit. That's my point. Like, there are obviously real jobs out there that are good comparisons. Service sector, people-pleasing jobs would be very similar. Those are like, I think, customer service type shit. But like, if you're an accountant or if you're even like in sales, my interactions with clients was limited, way more limited than like constantly having to do this for 9 hours with like a back and forth interaction for 9 hours. That's what like sucks your social battery and you just tap out after it. Yeah, think about it this way. Like, you give presentations for your job, right? Imagine giving a presentation for 9 hours straight. It's like, after a while, you would be like, I don't want to talk ever again.
Willie Macho responds by saying, "You're right, this makes you look totally normal." Plain Rock responds, "Get a real job." Omni says, "Fuck doing my own research to disprove misinformation. I must start believing people." Ragnarok says, "Yeah, sitting in a chair making millions is such a tough job." Fan says, "Twitter haters and out of context clips," and then has the shaking hands and agreement emoji in between them. Satan's Bride 13 says, "Bro, just get a life. This isn't healthy behavior." Denim's responds to Hasan by saying, "As someone who has worked 12-hour shifts with a 4-hour commute while going to uni full-time, streaming is easily the hardest job I've had. The post-stream social exhaustion is so real. I don't know how anyone could do it every day." She then deletes this tweet, but it gets screen capped by a bunch of people and responded to by various people, such as Nicholas Diorio, who says, "They should do a reality show where streamers have to get a job." Laughing my ass off. Willie Macho responds, "Her other job is OnlyFans, by the way. Truly one of the hardest occupations." Nick responds, "So she's an OnlyFans model and a Hasan waiting room." Laughing my ass off. Wood Wisp says, "I think the difficult job hierarchy in order of least hardest to most hardest is oil rig welder, astronaut, nuclear physicist, brain surgeon, and then streamer. I could be wrong, but I don't know. It's really hard playing video games and talking." Chud Logic quote tweets Nick and says, "The idea that streaming is harder than an average job is a total fantasy that pampered retards create in order to generate fake affinity with their audience of simp freaks." This take from Denims is even more absurd when you realize how lazy her content model is. She streams for around 4 hours a day, the first hour of which is a starting soon screen, where she plays someone else's video. 25% of her content, she isn't even there. Absolutely shameful. Mala responds by saying, "To be fair, some streamers, not me, do all kinds of crazy prep work, performance, interaction, and sacrifice to make an awesome show. But Denims is doing fuck all, and stealing other people's shit. Absolutely wild." Ogre Boy responds by saying, "You're still talking about something that is subjective to the person saying it. I know people that would gladly move boxes all day without a single complaint, but will lose their minds in a panic if they have to speak in front of 30 people for 20 minutes. Everyone is different. Willie Macho responds to Denims by saying, lol, what's up with these people? Mudahar responds to Denim's tweet by saying, streaming is by far one of the easiest, most privileged jobs one can have. If you're successful, the rewards far outweigh any of the negatives. Compare it to any service job, cybersecurity, or nursing, and you'll find something actually exhausting. Nicholas Diorio responds by saying, imagine how easy it must be for her. She's literally a Hasan Piker waiting room. Rai says, the grind to popularity without a doubt is hard, but in no way is it comparable to a programming gig or a gig in which you have to stand for hours on end. Not to mention the one who started this controversy watches videos as a big part of his content, lol. The privilege is insane. Double Anarchy says, yes, being on your feet for 8 hours while getting assaulted by dementia patients while you're understaffed is far easier than playing video games online. Cinnamon Toast Ken says, I'm always of the opinion that the job is easy, but being successful is the stressful part. I left the workforce at 26 and found difficulty with how it blurs the line of work and life, chasing trends, parasocial stalkers, and success being tied to the internet's opinion of you. But then I remember I make my old yearly wage in 2 weeks and forget what I was saying. Vinoshi responds, I don't know, man. I think not being successful is the stressful part. When you go full-time being successful, then slowly have a diminishing audience until that eventually snowballs into making ends meet, pinching pennies, or whatever despite putting in 14 hours a day. Cinnamon Toast Ken responds, we are mostly saying the same thing. The stress of being successful is chasing and maintaining to avoid your situation. Yours is literally the textbook fear of every creator and what they want to avoid, and that grind never changes. Sorry you're going through that. Ismail responds to Muda by saying, no woman, your experience is invalid. Let me explain to you why you are wrong. Willie Macho responds, God forbid a woman might be wrong. Ismail responds, you literally live off of drama. It's like your bread and butter. You were maybe the worst person to talk in this subject matter because you don't even create content. Willie responds to Ismail by saying, he's a React channel that steals content for a living and talks about more drama day to day than me. The lack of self-awareness is classic. Harry Samuel says, Lord have mercy, sometimes people are wrong. Sometimes those people are women. End of. Ismail responds, but Denims didn't even express an opinion. Dark Viper AU responds to Mudahar by saying, avoiding calling out Hasan Piker is weird. If you have more wealth than any person can ever need for several lifetimes, and especially when that wealth was generated by sitting around, watching other people's hard work, complaining about entirely optional work you do is insane. Jash Likes Water responds to Muda by saying, fuck it, I'm doing bad faith arguments. Give a nurse or cybersecurity expert a camera and tell them to talk about politics in front of 20k for 9 hours a day every day for a year and see how long they can go before they quit from the harassment or lose viewership because they suck. RG responds by saying, it's his choice to talk politics for 9 hours a day. He can literally talk about anything and he chooses to talk about politics. If he feels so drained by it, maybe he should take some time off. Jash responds, that's literally what he's saying he wants to do. Skeller says, also mention that their pay goes up by 1,000 times. Jash responds, doesn't change anything, money won't make you entertaining. Willie Macho quote tweets him and says, give Hasan a nursing job and have him change bedpans for a living. What the fuck is the logic here, laughing my ass off? The most brain dead people are Hasan viewers. The hard part of content creation is getting the skill set to grow and keep an audience. After that, it's easy for 99% of creators. Nearly every other person working a day job has a harder day to day. No matter how good you get at being a cashier, it still sucks ass. IDK whatever you want, bro reacts to Denims by saying, streamers really want to find some way to make it look like they work as hard as normal people, instead of just admitting they have it easy. Denims then responds on her alt account and says, then become a streamer. Speaking of Denims' alt account, she also goes on there to tweet about the criticism in general by saying, talks about my personal experience about how taxing streaming is versus other jobs. My job is harder! Streaming is actually really easy! Incredible sight. My apologies for thinking that my tweet wouldn't leave the target audience. Rich Money Bling responds by saying, he's a millionaire that gets to work on his own schedule. Nobody will ever feel bad for the hard work streamers do. Cry me a river. Denims responds, no one is talking to you, loser. Willie Macho responds by saying, keep going, you're doing great. TC Brady reacts to the clip by saying, millionaire streamer Hasan Piker claims that a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you, in the same way that streaming absolutely will. He then follows it up by saying, a message to Hasan fans, posting a picture of a job application form. Roger Clark says, being poor when you are young and starting out has its advantages, makes you humble and grateful. This kid has no clue. Jess responds to the Hasan clip by saying, no guys, you don't understand. He's like literally the means of his own production. He's fighting for his fucking life out here, bro. Wavy Websurf responds to the Hasan clip by saying, spoken like a true trust funder, laughing my ass off. What a fucking clown, bro. My soul soul was getting sucked sloppy for the 5 years of retail and 4 years of nursing prior to this cushy YouTube gig. Oompaville reacts to the Hasan clip by saying, comedically, I love the idea that some of the most privileged people on earth, content creators, can complain and people still side with them. That is funny! Reality is coming for all of us one day or another, regardless of privilege, money, whatever, lol. The worst part about being a content creator saying something innocuously true, that turns into this. Hasan is getting absolutely shit on for saying something that most people feel about what they do, regardless of their jobs. And if it's fact, as opposed to truth. Streaming is easy as fuck, but doing anything for 9 hours a day is hard. And even doing nothing can be exhausting, lol. People who work real jobs are mostly doing it against their will. Content creation is actual playtime, no matter how fucking hard it has the potential to be. But just so you remember, we are all on the same side. Screaming and death is around the corner. Rock Solid reacts to the Hasan clip by showing a picture of an anime character screaming in agony and the caption, Hasan when he realizes he has to wake up tomorrow and react to videos on stream while giving the worst takes on the planet while earning the yearly income of numerous families each month. Schwarp responds, color me shocked that a champagne socialist is out of touch. The soul-crushing 9 hours of reacting to YouTube videos. Rock Solid responds, the fucking pattern is way too frequent, is it not? Seems like the warriors of the working class have never actually experienced the working class. Comrade Lamb responds to TC Brady by showing the same clip of context that Hasan posted on his Twitter, and the caption, here's the context for this dumbass clip chimp of Hasan. I get that expecting the neets on this dumbass site to understand the nuance of how different jobs drain you in different ways is insane, but oh well. Hasan is out of touch, lol. You spend 16 hours a day farming likes on Twitter! You couldn't be further from in touch! Get a job! Entity in Black responds, the difference is you can't take a break from your 9-to-5 job, but if you are a big streamer, you can absolutely take a break from streaming and avoid being drained. Comrade Lamb responds, sure, but there's no taking a break from constant online harassment to the point the FBI gets involved because there are credible death threats. I'd personally also find that emotionally draining, but that's just me. Dex Tixter responds by saying, the context does not make it better. I work in retail, by the way. Comrade Lamb responds, I work in retail, by the way. So did I, dummy. He's 100% correct. Actually, Tina responds to Comrade Lamb by saying, Hasan's editor shows context. It's somehow worse because he straight up compares streaming to a retail sales job. Laughing my fucking ass off. Cinnamon Toast Ken responds to Comrade Lamb by saying, my favorite part is that Hasan will gain more viewers and make more money from everyone wanting to share and shit on his take. Works every time. Mudahar responds to Comrade Lamb by saying, seeing the origin of this discourse still has me disagreeing. I don't doubt the social battery is draining, but in most jobs you don't have the luxury of turning off a stream or blocking out people. YouTube isn't my job. 6 days I'm up early and from sunrise to sunset, I'm mostly in meetings and overseeing operations for my company. I wish my job could be turned off sometime, or I could skip a meeting with some irrational clients. I don't know. Maybe I'm old school, but streaming/YouTube will always appear to be a privileged job compared to the soulless 9-to-5. Someday I wish I could spend more time with my wife/family, but even she can attest I'm always preoccupied with work and the social aspect that comes with it. Comrade Lamb responds by saying, come on Muda, for fuck's sake. He's not comparing the overall quality of any one job to another. He's simply talking about the social battery aspect. You say you disagree, then say something he'd 1000% agree with. Mudahar responds by saying, even that I pointed out my disagreement with the social batteries, I completely understand interacting with people on a daily basis has me not wanting to speak to someone come clock out time. I just always believe streaming, which gives you near definite flexibility versus most social jobs that force you into a constant setting, is still miles worse. For example, I literally couldn't step out of meetings if I wanted to, and taking break from interactions is a near impossibility. It's constant direct face-to-face engagement on a daily basis. Burns says, a privileged streamer preaching socialism from his mansion. You can't make this shit up. Willie Mac Show quote tweets Mudahar and says, people are mad at Mudahar because of the missing context Hasan and his mods keep crying about doesn't change the context at all. Comparing streaming to retail work or shitty ass sales job he worked for a month is psychotic to working class people. Bella responds to Mudahar by saying, these centrist YouTubers who give their opinion on everything, even when they don't know what the fuck they are talking about, needs to be investigated in a laboratory. Gremlo quote tweets Mudahar and says, this is what out of touch looks like. A business owner who sets the rules of their company, trying to grandstand about how much he's on his grind, but just wishes he could take a break. Zero introspection, just doing hate farming. Another thing, being overworked is not a brag. Mudahar responds to Gremlo by saying, building something that outlives you with your own two hands is something I don't expect you to ever understand. I never came from money. My life is a reflection of the hours and stress put in. No, as a business owner, you don't have the luxury of your own times. When you're responsible for your and the well-beings of others. Call it hate farming. I call it the truth. Do something with your life and the world you've planted in. Jake Lucky responds to Mudahar by saying, I think a lot of streamers who want to succeed in this industry industry also don't have the luxury of not streaming. Many have to be live absurd amounts of hours in order to grow and be recognized, and also have employees who rely on them to stream/make content to pay their salaries. This whole comparing jobs thing is ridiculous. Streaming is easier than a lot of jobs, harder than some as well. Asmongold responds by saying, if you don't wake up at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning having a panic attack about work, are you really a business owner? Mudahar responds, Sundays aren't real. It's just prep day to start the week all over again. Jazz Likes Water tweets out a picture of Asmongold reacting to the criticism Hasan's getting on Twitter and captions it by saying, Asmongold agrees that streaming is socially draining, and look at the like/dislike ratio, showing that the dislikes almost outweigh the likes on the video. Comrade Lamb responds by saying, I wasn't expecting the first person with a normal take on this to be Asmongold. Holy. Jazz responds, I wasn't either. It's wild that some Asmongold viewers are so passionate about hating Hasan that they won't even agree on the fact that being social for half the day makes you not want to be social the other half. Roger Mockin says, we are not arguing if it's socially draining or not. I'm sure that it is. But it's obscene to be talking about the difficulties of streaming when you make a fuck ton of money off of it. There are people doing backbreaking work for less than $30,000 a year. Jash responds, that's just capitalism at work. I don't know what to say. Better than making 10k a year under socialism. Patrick says, I'm sure streaming is socially draining, but I don't see how it's any more socially draining than a normal job. People don't want to hear millionaires complain. It's really that simple. Jash responds, it's pretty simple. I worked at a warehouse for 8 hours with close to no social interaction. Afterwards, I'm able to still go hang out with friends. I've also streamed 8 hours, and afterwards, I don't want to be even more social. It's not a complaint, it's a fact. Optimus quote tweets Jazz and says, I'm sorry, but if I've seen footage of a millionaire picking roaches off his body live on stream because you refuse to pick up the 1,000 DoorDash bags of rotting food surrounding you in your bedroom, I don't really give a fuck about your stance on things being draining. Bulwark15 quote tweets Jazz and says, Asmongold lives in a literal pigsty because he's too lazy to even employ maids. Ordering pizza is probably socially draining for such a person. Hancock responds to Jazz by saying, Asmongold literally didn't brush his teeth for so long, he has less than 5 real ones left, and he used to wipe the blood from his gums on his walls/pillows. No one should be surprised he agrees. His battery was drained before he even attempted basic hygiene. Nicholas Diorio tweets out a picture of Asmongold's room and says, Asmongold gave his opinion on the Hasan/Denims drama yesterday. I'ma need to check that out. I really want to know what a millionaire who has cockroaches crawling on him because he can't throw out his fast food garbage thinks about hard work and the value of the dollar. Funny enough, I like Asmongold a lot more than I did a few years ago, but I laugh every time he's forced to give a take about the real world. These dramas are by far his worst topics, and generally just fun to dunk on. Another streamer who had a reaction to all of this criticism Hasan's getting was XQC. One of his fan accounts posted a clip of him talking about it on live stream and captions it by saying, XQC reacts to Hasan saying a real job isn't soul-sucking like streaming. Try a sales job. Oh, nah.
Yes, a real job can be gruesome. A real job can make you very tired, but a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you. You know what I mean?
Oh, try a sales job. Oh, nah. Oh, nah. Yo. How about I match his salary for a month and he gets a sales job? Oof.
In the same way that 9 hours of streaming absolutely will.
Slushy then follows up the clip by making a poll asking, is a sales job more crushing than streaming? Which ended up getting 10k votes with 93% saying yes, of fucking course it is. Alec responds by saying, he grows more and more out of touch by the day. Slushy responds, I just think he's hate bait farming, cause the views ain't hitting like they used to. Willie Macho reacts to XQC by saying, XQC sponsored web series where streamers have to get an alias and a real job to afford rent would crack me the fuck up. Hasan continued tweeting about this when he says, Twitter's absolutely just straight up 4chan now. So many people's brains are cooked. One day we will study its impact on a generation of school shooters who grew up on here /Reddit, but it will be too late. Juju quote tweets Hasan and says, this motherfucker got cooked for saying streaming is harder than a 9-to-5 job and is now making it about school shooters. George responds by saying, he's slating Twitter yet he's waking up and the first thing he is doing is tweeting. Juju then responds with the amount of tweets Hasan has made and says, 35k tweets, crazy cope. JJ Sounds Funny tweets out a picture of Mudahar smiling next to a picture of Mudahar straight-faced and says, Muda when it's time to tweet about Hasan versus Muda when it's time to tweet about Palestine. Luna Nohos responds, one relates to his work, one doesn't. And then JJ responds, then he's a coward. Willie responds to JJ by saying, it's true. The conflict would definitely end if some ordinary gamer got involved. Nicholas Diorio says, this is normal actually, and should be encouraged among YouTubers. Dojangle says, bro, I really hope Hasan saw this. Smaggledaggle says, Muda when he takes a a piss versus Muda when he takes a shit. Mudahar quote tweets JJ and says, yeah, let me help sort out the situation personally, showing a picture of him in Discord with Israel and Palestine. He then follows it up by saying, on streams I've maintained this is a conflict that shouldn't exist. With the death toll rising and innocents displaced, I would hope this conflict ends at some point before the end of my life. This is how most people treat this complex situation. We don't like seeing dead children. If you asked me this on stream, you'd hear these exact words relayed back to you. If you want to see change, write to your MP and ask them to discuss this on your behalf. Denim screenshots this and says, intellectual juggernaut Mudahar weighing in on the Palestinian genocide with a brave both sides are bad. Anyways, going back to Hasan saying Twitch streaming is hard, he quote tweets a guy doing excruciating manual labor where the original poster says, what's harder than this? And then Hasan responds by saying, Twitch streaming. FPS Diesel says, I find streaming quite easy actually. I find it socially invigorating. If streamers who are rich don't feel this, maybe it's time to step away. You have the capital to pursue something that sparks joy. Literally just go do that. It's so funny that in looking to escape the rat race, so many creators are tied up in it. Even funnier is how it's all self-inflicted. After achieving a monetary goal, I think I'd rather spend time with the people I love. Seems much more helpful. I don't know. Nogla says, I'd love to see Hasan have a full-time working class job. Dispropaganda says, Hasan spoke the truth. That's why they hate him. Showing a picture of Hasan saying, a real job doesn't suck the soul out of you in the same way that streaming absolutely will. And then 3 workers making a building brick by brick with stacks of bricks on their head saying, thank God I'm not a streamer. At least our souls aren't being sucked. Stay strong, Hasan. And that's about it for the discussion around this on Twitter. A lot of people are talking about this, so I'm sure in the upcoming days there'll be enough tweets for a part 2. So if you'd like to see that, be sure to let me know in the comment section below. And more importantly, by leaving a like on this video so I know that you enjoyed it. But with all of that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.